it in your head. Feel the breeze. If it's the beach, if it's a forest, if it's your parents' home or your beach vacation, whatever that is, find it and grab your wrist and say peace. And if you need to do that multiple times, do that. Those are just some quick ways to find peace in your body, safety in your nervous system, and calm your body's reaction. Okay. Then you can go within and find out what your body's telling you. What are you feeling right now? Where does fear feel in your body? Where does doubt feel in your body? Those usually, fear can be in your feet. It can be in your let me see, in your legs. Okay. Fear is also, I'm looking at my chart right now. Yeah, fear is in your feet, in your toes, in your neck. That could also be where you carry fear, or your stomach, like your upper and lower stomach. Those are places where fear hides. If you're not familiar with tapping into your body, just maybe focus your attention on those body parts. Doubt is usually on the chest and your throat. That self-doubt, your throat is your ability to speak up for yourself, to say what you want to say, to stand up for yourself. So that those might be some places where you feel doubt and fear. So once you tap into your body, feel it, allow it to be there. Ask yourself, what is it telling me? What are you telling me? What are you protecting me from? Once you hear this message, I want you to think of what you are certain of when it comes to your decision. Because once you tap into this, the moment you did some resetting, some calming your nervous system. So then that emotion lessens. Then you're naming it. It goes down even lower. Then you're questioning it. What are you trying to tell me? And the emotion lessens even more. Now it's at like 40%, maybe 30%. Now that it has lowered, now that it's no longer in front of you, in your face, and vibrating really loud, okay? Now that it's just sitting there, it's calmed, and it's about 40% or less. Now that you've done that, you can think of what you're certain about this decision. For me, even though 3 years later, I got back with my ex and now we have remarried, at that moment, that decision to go through the divorce was the best thing for my children and for me and for my husband. It was the best thing I could have done, because that was the beginning of my self-love journey, of actually discovering myself. I didn't even know who I was, finding my identity. It was the beginning of strengthening my religious beliefs and fortifying that foundation, reconnecting to God at levels that I never thought could be possible. Because of that decision, because I chose to go through the divorce, I learned so much. My children became stronger. My children now know what it feels like to overcome something very hard, to go through something that you have zero control over, and make it out alive and thrive from it. My children have that under their belt. They know what a mother can do for her children. They know what true love is. They know what forgiveness looks like, because I made that decision and because I stuck around to that decision and I had my back. So now that I want you to focus on the certainty of that decision. When you made that decision, what did it feel like? Why? Why did you choose that? Why was that the right decision for you? Remember your why. For me, it was because I wanted something better at that time. That was my why. Because I wanted something better for my children, because I wanted my children to have a loving home where there was no fighting, where there were shared values, where the mom and dad loved each other and respected each other. I wanted them to have a home where God was a foundation. And I have all that now. And I'm still married to my husband, to my ex-husband, and he's still the same guy, which is amazing, which is what I talk about all the time and what I teach my clients with, to learn to love their spouses and their children, even when they disappoint you, to stop trying to control others and instead do the inner work on ourselves to create a warmer, more inviting relationship in the home with your children, with your spouse. So, just side note, going back to the certainty of making that decision. This is the part where you get to have your own back. This is where you get to remind yourself of why you made this decision, your why, because that is important. Knowing your why is so important. And then I want you to ask yourself, what do you want to do? Now that you have in front of you the doubt, the fear, the indecision, right? I should have done this. I could have done that, right? Now that you have it, it's at a 40%. Remember, we have it at it's still there, still present. It hasn't gone away. The pain is still there. The discomfort is still there, hasn't still present, but now you have that certainty on the other side, on the other hand. Now you know your why. Now you know both. Now I want to empower you by asking yourself, what do I want to do? This is where you get to decide to make this fear, doubt, and indecision a problem or not. This is where you get to have your own back and trust yourself, knowing that just because you made the right decision, just because you followed your intuition, doesn't mean it's all going to be rainbows and daisies. No, this life is 50-50. Decisions are 50-50, 50% negative, 50% positive. In my case, in that decision, the emotions, the negative emotions, and I'm going to quote negative because all emotions are the same, but we like to call them negative. The negative emotions that I had to experience after following through on my intuition, on my spirit, was the loneliness, the emptiness in my heart, the pain of watching my children not have their dad and suffer, the indecision, the self-doubt, the mistrusting myself. I had to experience all those negative emotions, right? It didn't diminish the truthness in my decision. It was just part of the process. When we realize that either decision has 50-50, it's easier to just follow through and stick with what we want and have our own back. The 50% positive emotions that I had to experience after my decision was I learned to love myself. I had a boost of self-esteem. I learned new things about myself. So I learned that that I'm strong. I learned so many things about myself. I felt super confident. I grew as a person. I learned new skills. So I stretched myself in ways that I wouldn't have before. I learned what I wanted, what I didn't want. That felt good. It felt good to be the the one in control of my life and my home again. It felt so good. I felt so empowered. Those were some of the positive emotions. So if you make the decision, or even before you make the decision, make a list of all the positive and all the negative emotions you're going to have to experience. So you're in advance, you know what your brain is going to throw at you. You're going to be well prepared and on your way to be more assertive and trust yourself even more when it comes to decision making. Okay. Now, I wanted to go back to trusting yourself, because what does that look like? You say, right? Because, okay, now I made the decision. I'm experiencing the 50-50, but what if I don't trust myself? What if my past is like, it's questionable about my decision making? What if in my past I have made so many mistakes that I don't think I can trust myself, right? Let's go over what trust means. Trust is choosing to make something important to you vulnerable to the actions of someone else. So when you trust yourself, you are saying, this is really important to me, and I'm willing to go through all the discomfort and go through all the aftermath, and I'm going to share it out to the world for everyone to see that I made this decision, but I trust myself because I chose this. This is important to me. This matters to me. It's saying this matters to me. I value my choice. I value my beliefs. I value my opinion. That's what trust is. When we don't trust ourselves, it's really saying, I don't feel safe with you. I don't feel safe with my decisions, with what I've done. So finding safety in yourself is really following through on those little promises that we make ourselves every day, is calming our nervous system, right? But I'm going to share with you 5 steps that I help my clients to work on to trust themselves. Number 1, if you want to learn to trust yourself more and be able to have that when it comes to making difficult decisions and sticking through the decision, even when you're going through the 50-50, the negatives and the positives, some of the things you can do behind the scenes are to live and honor your values daily. Do you know your core values? I usually have my clients do their 5 core values. Do you know them? Do you live your day to day living those core values? Do you make decisions based on those core values? Do you treat others based on those core values? See, a lot of people come to me and they're like, yes, I'm living my core values. I'm at 100% living my core values. And then I ask them, okay, and then they have a problem in their relationship and that comes up, and I'm like, so if you value honesty, how is being honest in your relationship and living that core value working? How would you rate that? If you're not standing up for yourself, if you are not letting the other person be honest with you, and you're shutting them down and not letting them have a place for them to be honest about their feelings or what they think about you or what they think about other people, and we just shut them down, right? Are you living your values in your relationships, or are you just living your values on your own? Because that's easy. But are you living them on your relationships? daily. That is just one amazing way to start learning to